Hey everybody, all one of you. It might be Blissful because she told me she was going to be in here tonight. Um, got cords in the way. Um, I don't think Jay's going to be joining me tonight. I talked to him a little bit earlier and he was in the middle of watching Phantasm. So I was like, you enjoy Phantasm because that's a good one. I think I've done a watch along for that one here probably in the last few weeks. I do have, I don't know if this is the proper term for it, but it cold in one of my eyes. And it's, so if you see me kind of squinting or closing one eye, that's what the issue is. Hey, Blair. Hey, Blissful. Um, but anyway, we are going to be watching Fatal Attraction from 1987 tonight. Now, I know Blair's in here. I don't know how many guys we're going to have that want to watch this movie. It's like Uncle Bill said last night. He doesn't know how many guys would even own this movie. But you know what I say about that. If you're not cheating, you don't have anything to worry about, do you? Because you pretty much know your wife, right? And if you're not cheating or you're not out looking, you don't stand a chance of getting involved with some crazy bitch like Michael Douglas does with Glenn Close in this movie. So, so if you're pretty straight laced and true blue to your spouse, I don't think you got anything to worry about. You can watch this movie free and clear with a free and clear conscience, too. Hey, Darren. Blair, you asked, have I seen the TV show? No, I have not, and I think I saw a preview for it. I mean, if any of you guys and gals out there like it, that's groovy. I just don't think it's going to be my cup of tea. I would much rather go back and watch the original movie. I was thinking that there was maybe it was just a television show, but did is there a remake of the original movie out as well, or am I just thinking about the television show? But oh, also before we get started, I just wanted to apologize. I was not able to make the Creep Show Father's Day cupcakes today due to not getting all my supplies in. There was some certain supplies that were supposed to come in today from Amazon. There was a delay in shipping. You guys and gals that order from Amazon pretty frequently probably are familiar with that concept that if you didn't care if it came in that the day it was supposed to come in, it would come in on that day. But if you're really needing it to come in for something, that's when they delay it. It never fails. Um, so I just wanted to let you guys and gals know that. I did let Jay know that as well. So I may be going it alone tonight as far as the watch along's concerned. However, should anybody decide at any point in time that they want to come on here with me um, and watch this and comment on it live, just let me know and I will put the link in the chat real quick. No longer am I putting that just at the beginning of every stream because people took advantage of that, unfortunately, including one nefarious person who I have no idea who they are. But they were doing naughty things backstage. Thank God I was the only one that could see it. But it's one of those things, once you see that, you can't unsee it. And so I really don't want to see that again. But they haven't boiled the rabbit yet, X-Ray. We haven't even gotten started yet, so don't have to worry about that. That's the scene that always bothers me. That's the scene that makes me want to turn away, and I have been known to turn away. The rest of the stuff I'm okay with. X-ray, you say I'd go on, but I got my curlers and avocado facial on. That's fine, X-ray. You say, wait, who is doing what? Some unknown person, as far as I know. Uncle Bill asked me if I knew who it was that was doing this. Back when I was putting the link to join me live at the beginning of every stream that I did, um, in the last few weeks, someone um, clicked on it and went backstage. And like I said, thank God I was the only one that could see it. But, you see it and you can't unsee it. They were doing things to themselves backstage, and I could see it. And I had to just kick them out of the studio because um, that is not the stuff that I want going on at any point in time. And I'm glad I didn't just click on them and add them without glancing down there. And it took me half a second to figure out exactly what was going on. And then I was like, oh my God, they're doing what I think they're doing. Yeah. Um, and no, it wasn't Steve. I'm thinking it was the same person that maybe a week or two before had just been scanning their room or whatever. It looked like the same, I didn't look at it for very long because it was shocking, but it did appear to be the same room. And that person was taking the camera around their room, but they weren't showing their face or anything. So I don't know what their deal is. But they must have got pissed off because I wouldn't just add somebody without knowing, something about them. Oh man. TJ says, ready for rabbit stew? Not really, TJ. I like this movie, but not that scene. Lissel says, I have to say this, Dana got a free show. Sorry. That's okay, Blissful, but it's just not, I don't want to watch this show on a rerun. I'll just say that. Um, so if anybody, decides later they want to join me live on the stream, that is fine. I will put the link in the chat for you. If anybody comes in at any point in time and needs a timestamp, I'll also be glad to provide that for them. Okay, now that we got all of that out of the way, I am, of course, watching the Blu-ray, not the 4K, because I can't watch 4K back here, but I am queued up 17 seconds in. It's on the Paramount logo, Paramount, a Gulf Western company. I'll give everybody a couple, 1 or 2 minutes that is watching this tonight to get queued up on their copies, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the watch along. And tonight I am drinking a Prime Ice Pop energy drink. In case anybody wondered. So I hope everybody's had a good Sunday and got a lot of stuff done. I didn't quite get as much stuff done as I wanted to. I did get my Halloween decorations up outside. Hey, Russell. So I'm glad about that. I think it might have been Steve that asked me, well, are you sure you got to do it this weekend? I said, Steve, if I don't do it this weekend, then Halloween's going to creep up on me and I'm not even going to have my decorations up. So I wanted to make sure, usually I try to do it the first weekend in October, but we only had a Sunday because the Saturday was in September and I could have done it that day, but well, yeah, you know. Bliss, will you say you're drinking a chai latte because it's chilly tonight? There you go. I had a little soup earlier. I may have to have some soup a little later too after the watch along because Like I said, I've got that cold in my eye, and I've still been sneezing and coughing and all that business, and it's probably just allergies. But okay, so it is now 7:11, so we're going to go ahead and get this party started with Fatal Attraction. So I'm going to do the 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to go ahead and get the movie started. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play. TJ, you say I've barely been home to do laundry. The Howling stuff is sitting all over the dining room at this point. Well, probably if Steve would allow me to do that, I would do that, TJ. But even though Glenn Close is playing a really bad character in this, I think she is phenomenal in this movie. Blissell's got the right idea, TJ. Just call it eclectic. Fred Gwynn is also in this. Almost forgot about Fred Gwynn being in it. TJ says, Bliss, it's called No Time. So we're getting a cityscape type of intro into this movie, which I actually like. Kind of reminds me of the way Risky Business comes on. That little girl ended up, when she was a little bit older, in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation as Clark's young niece. TJ, you say, how many times have people seen this movie? Maybe 2 to 3 times all the way through for me. Gosh, I don't know. I can't even count how many times I've seen this, TJ. I mean, I usually watch it all the way through when I do watch it. However, like I said earlier, the Bunny Buller scene is very, very hard for me to watch. And that's basically, I know this sounds horrible, but that's basically the only scene that bothers me in this movie. And I can watch the rest of it with no problem. Well, kids like to play with lipstick, don't they? I always thought this is so cute. The mother is saying shit, 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 and the little girl is going shit, shit, shit down the hall with her stuffed animal. Hey, Super Batman nerd. Super Batman Nerdy said, with all the Exorcist believer crapness out now, does anyone remember Stigmata with Patricia Arquette? I do briefly, Super Batman Nerd. So this is where we're going to get our introduction to Glenn Close's character of Alex Forrest. Now, the couple that is friends with Michael Douglas and Anne Archer, the guy, I never did like this guy. I didn't like his character because he just seems like some obnoxious asshole. And he's married to the short haired blonde lady. But he's just, you always just feel like he could cheat at a moment's notice. But when Michael Douglas' character ends up cheating on his wife, he just, I don't know, he just kind of a hypocrite. X-ray, you say Glenn Close always kind of resembled Popeye with a wig to me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Darren, you say I like this and Single White Female and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I like all those as well. Oh yeah, Fear with Mark Wahlberg is another good one. So there is Miss Glenn Close there. Um, I personally, I thought Glenn Close was like sexy, especially in this movie. But I never thought of Glenn Close as attractive. She's not ugly. I'm not saying that. I definitely don't have any room to talk, but I didn't find her traditional attractive, you know. But I do find her mannerisms and stuff like that to be sexy. And sometimes it's not that a woman has to be drop dead gorgeous. It's how she handles herself. So at first, the Alex Forrest character seems very well put together, sure of herself, and all of that. And then as the movie goes on, and she gets involved with Dan, Michael Douglas's character, that's when things start to unravel. X-ray, you say Glenn Close is next door mom hot. I love this dog in this. Hey, Coco. X-ray, I'm not gonna read that off, but it might get me in trouble. But you can almost rest assured it probably will be coming. I do briefly Super Batman. I remember Glenn Close dressed up as a male pirate and Hook. I could never understand why Ann Archer's character did not want her daughter chewing gum. Is that a thing? Or was it a thing? X-Ray, you say you'd rather see a remake of Living Single? That show was baller back in the 90s. I love Living Single. TJ, you say there's a cool on cable TV movie called Fear with Ali Sheedy as a psychic trying to find a killer. That sounds cool. That's interesting, X-Ray. You say Ali Sheedy is underrated. For some reason, the Brat Pack did not transition well into the 90s. So Glenn Close is going to show up again. Alex Forrest, the character, is going to show up again here, um, filling in for someone who cannot be at this meeting. So they have a joke at their, I guess, their boss's expense about what happened to his neck, and the the word was, in case you didn't catch it earlier, that he hurt his neck having sex with his wife. So Dan, Michael Douglas's character, works for a law firm, and so they're trying to decide if somebody has filed an injunction against an author that says that this character in this book where there's an affair is based on him and he's a congressman. Uh, so Alex Forrest is saying, this woman had affairs with a lot of other political guys. And, any one of them could make the same claim that this congressman's making. So I always thought this was a funny little scene where Michael Douglas's character of Dan he's got some cream from the donut or whatever on his nose, and she kind of, lets him know. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. So I always thought that this was a funny scene too, and Alex finds it very humorous. That's something that would no doubt happen to me. When I used to have to ride the bus and go to work in the mornings, sometimes it'd be raining, sometimes it'd be storming, sometimes it'd be raining and a strong wind. And I don't know if anybody's ever had an umbrella that the wind hit it so strongly that it went whoop like this. So I've had mine do that. And so now they end up going, to have lunch together or drinks together at this restaurant. And keep in mind that his wife is out of town looking or visiting her parents, but also looking at a house because they're kind of interested in moving out of the city and moving out to a more, I guess, country or rural area. So, I mean, obvious flirting going on in this scene. I mean, it's really thick. It's like, syrup. So now they're getting down, she's asking him if he is discreet. And man, the way he's looking at her, and he says, "Yes, I'm discreet." And she says she is too. No, TJ, in my opinion, Douglas does not deserve any sympathy on his own. I understand what you're saying, short of close involving his family who are the innocents here. Exactly. They are the complete innocents. It's not like Ann Archer's character is going out and doing the same thing. And of course, his daughter is an innocent. Um, and they end up, the daughter ends up being hurt in this emotionally. Um, Ann Archer's character ends up getting hurt, physically multiple times in this movie. So, yeah, my answer is Dan, Michael Douglas's character, does not deserve any sympathy whatsoever. But I'm not saying that this is what all men want, but some men do like this heated, passionate, one night stand type of thing, which we're seeing right here. Um, but um they don't want any commitment. They don't want any attachments to this woman. I'm not trying to be vulgar, but this woman is just one fuck probably of many that these types of guys have. You have to wonder how many affairs that Dan has been involved in. We're just seeing a movie about one affair. And, like men and some women too may find this very hot, this this scene here. Um, the putting her up on the sink and letting water run on her breast, just now this part here is kind of hokey where he's stumbling around trying to get her to the bed. Um, so, this evidently this was some good sex. I always laugh at how Michael Douglas looks here. But as you can see, the man is exhausted, completely exhausted here. And she says, "Are you feeling energetic?" And he's like, "What do you have in mind?" And the next thing you know, they're dancing. They're out dancing. Coco, you say sync sex is hard. TJ says sync sex, good cardio. I can't respond because I've never had sync sex, so I don't know. I've only seen it in this movie. But really, guys, do you think you could have that much heated sex and then go out and be dancing like this? I wouldn't know, X-Ray. I probably don't wanna know if he has or he hasn't. Okay, so now they're gonna go back to her apartment. So he's saying, "Where do I get a cab?" And, like, he's not putting up any resistance, she pulls him into the apartment building, and now she's still not through with him sexually. Um, but there are some people that I don't know if it's considered a kink or what, but they like having sex in places where they could possibly be discovered. It's exciting. Me, I could never do anything like this, because I would be just so embarrassed if somebody did see. And then she stops the elevator, like, between floors evidently, and then she's going to be pleasuring Dan in a way that a lot of men like to be pleasured. Coco, you say it was the 80s. Cocaine probably helped. Unstoppable on that stuff from sync sex to the discotheque. Yeah, I'm sure that, drugs during that point in time would have definitely fueled something like that. Because, it doesn't appear that they're done yet. Okay, so at this point, you know, I guess the guilt has started to settle in, and all he's thinking is, I had a good time, had a good night, had some good sex. Now I'm going to go back home to my regular life, right? And he's neglected the dog on top of that. That's right, TJ. Elevators have cameras now. Well, I would be the boring ass wife, I guess. I wouldn't be the Glenn Close character. And anybody that has ever had elevator sex, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just saying I couldn't do it. And now, so he's talking to his wife, and she's wanting to know where he was. And, so I had dinner with a friend last night. And so she's at her parents' home. Russell, I believe I have, but I have not seen that film. So his wife is telling him they can't see the house until late this afternoon. So she's not coming back home till tomorrow. For me, TJ, it would be neither, just because I can't do it. No offense to anybody that can, I just can't. Okay, so now he's realizing, oh, I can't just get up and leave this woman and go back home. So she's like, "Well, what happened? I got up, you were gone." And he said, "Didn't you find my note?" And she's wanting to, you know, she's either wanting to come over to his house or have him come over to her apartment. And she's like, he said, like, "I got to take care of the dog. I got so much work to do. I'm behind." And he's like, "Listen, I'd love to, but I can't." Um, and she's very insistent. Do what you have to do and come over later. Or she says he can work there and she won't disturb him. And then he says, "You don't give up, do you?" So now I don't really understand this because I know this is a big city, but they go to the park and they're obviously being very affectionate with each other and playing with the dog and stuff like that. But, I know it's a great big city, but he has friends that live in the city. He has coworkers that live in the city. Isn't he afraid that somebody will see him possibly out with this woman? Or maybe I'm way off base with that. So Dan's acting like, he's, had a heart attack or something. I would be so pissed at somebody if they did this. And then she says, "That's a shitty thing to do. My father died of a heart attack." And then he tells her how sorry he is. And then this is probably a big indicator of what kind of person Alex really is, because then she goes from that to laughing. And we're going to find out later in the film her father did really die of a heart attack. So, she essentially wasn't making that up, but she acted so flippant about it. As, I'm lying, that didn't happen. X-ray, you say, as big as New York City is, it's very easy to run into people you know. Well, in a park like that, I would think the chances of him seeing someone either he knows or someone that he works with, someone he's been affiliated with their work, seeing him with Alex Forrest, being affectionate with her, kind of ballsy on his part. Super Batman nerd, I have seen Deathgasm. Yes. Actually, you say Central Park sucks. I think the rats ate all the squirrels and took over as the main animal there. Oh, that's so sad, really, because I mean, X-ray was Central Park ever, a decent I mean, I've always been told that if you ever visit New York City, don't go to Central Park after dark. But, I know that's where the John Lennon kind of memorial is, and I always said if I ever got to New York City, that was one of the places I wanted to go. Actually, you say Central Park is nice, but you have to be careful at night. Only time I ever walk through there at night is with other people. Yeah, right. I've heard, don't go into Central Park at night alone, especially. No, I wouldn't even want to go to parks here in Louisville after dark. Actually, he says Steve will protect you. He had special forces training. That's right, Darren. Darren says, I've seen cruising. Don't go to Central Park at night. Okay, so now they're having a discussion that, you know, maybe the reason why she is attracted to married men is because she can't have them. So she's saying, I had a wonderful time last night. I want to see you again. Is that so terrible? He says, no, but I just don't think it's possible. Now, again, this leads me to believe that this is not the first time he's done something like this. And that the other time or times he has done this, he's gotten off scot free. Now he's met her, and he's not going to be able to unentangle himself from her quite as easily. So he's like, I got to go. And, he says, my wife's not home, but I got things to do. I got to go home. And then she says, I don't like this. He says, like what? The way you run away after every time we make love. So she's getting more insistent, I guess. So then she starts acting really crazy, trying to rip his clothes off and, telling him he's not going to leave. You're starting to see the mask slide off now. And he's like, um, let's be reasonable about this. And he's saying, I thought it was understood, the opportunity is there and we took it. He said, I thought we'd have a good time. And then she said, you thought you would have a good time. And then he starts talking about rules. I don't know, Darren. I guess some people probably would do that, but um I don't know if that's a typical thing that goes on in the United States or not. So she says she'd have more respect for him if he told her to fuck off, and he does, and she kinda just kicks him. And okay, so now here is the scene where you clearly realize that she is unstable. She comes out, says, let's be friends, you know. He starts trying to comfort her. He's apologizing for upsetting her. She puts her hands up to his face, and we see little bits of red here. And he notices that her hands are all wet. And then he looks and realizes that she slashed her wrists in the bathroom. I mean, I don't want to find out, but I don't know if somebody really slashed their wrist, if this would help, running cold water over it, and then, then you wrap them up real tight. Maybe if somebody didn't cut too deep. Coco, you say probably superficial cuts. I guess that's possible, just enough to make it scary, you know? So we can assume that he's talking to his wife again. And this is interspersed with shots of Alex, clearly depressed at this point. So, guys, I hate to step away, but I'm just going to leave the movie running. You guys can keep watching it. Those of you that are watching on your own, I'm going to run to the restroom and I'll be right back. Well, I'm back. The dark didn't consume me totally, thank goodness. Um, so Blissful, I don't think you missed much. The family is Dan's family is back. So Ellen, his daughter, is talking about how she wants a rabbit. So I find this part very sickening. Because his wife has no idea what he's been doing while she was away, you know, and he's just, so excited she's back and yada, yada, yada. And I have no doubt that he's glad his wife's back. But here's the thing, you just been fucking some woman on the side while your wife was gone. That is not normal behavior. You don't do things like that. Oh, Blissful's kind of digging naughty TJ. Look out there, TJ. I'm just kidding. So now the family is going out to see this house. Now this is a type of house I would love to have. Did you see that wooded drive up to this house? I mean, there's no way me and Steve could afford a house like this, but if money was no object, this is the kind of house I'd like to have. Coco, you say I just don't get cheating. What's on your shirt, Dana? Oh, actually, for those of you that haven't seen all of the shirt, this is a Vinegar Syndrome shirt from a year or two ago. That was kind of like a Halloween shirt. So it's got the knife going into the pumpkin. It says Van Sin on it, and there's film canisters underneath of it. I just thought it was a cool shirt and picked up one when they had those available. TJ, you say only musicians on tour can have affairs. It don't count on tour. Blissful says TJ, it does if wives and girlfriends are with them. LOL. Massive drama. I would imagine so. Oh, thanks, Coco. So now Alex is turning up at his place of work. So Dan is visibly bothered by the fact that Alex has showed up at his office. But he does ask her if she's okay, and then he says, I was going to call you today. So then she says, I want to say I'm sorry for what happened. Look at all the pictures of his wife there, and his wife and his daughter. So Alex acts like that she's smoothing things over, but then she wants one more favor. She said, I've got 2 tickets to Madame Butterfly 2 weeks from Thursday. She wants him to go with her as a peace offering. And he says, that's very nice of you, but I don't think it's a good idea. So she acts like, I'm going to leave now and, maybe we'll see each other around. It's not going to be that simple. Not with a title like Fatal Attraction, right? TJ said the peace offering would be giving the tickets to him and his wife. Okay, so this, in my opinion, is a really creepy scene of Glenn Close sitting there turning on and off the light switch. And she is not one to see Madame Butterfly either. And this scene is interspersed with Dan and his wife bowling with their friends. And she's alone in her apartment. And so here's Fred Gwynn, Herman Munster, Judd from Pet Sematary. But that wouldn't be for another, couple of years. So Alex is calling him um, repeatedly at his office now. Now he's starting to get aggravated. So he tells his secretary, she calls again, tell her I'm not here. So again, I find this very insulting, this scene. Um, that Dan would have the gall. He's trying to continue to act like everything's normal, that he's not done anything. Um, and his poor wife has no idea at all. So it seems that Dan has been made a partner in the firm. So again, they're having another lovely night out with their friends. And there's going to be a call here shortly. And Dan's nervous. Visibly, he's nervous because is he thinking, is Alex calling? And we can almost assume that it is her calling, but she's not saying anything. But you can only imagine the things that are running through Dan's mind right now. So not only is she calling during dinner, but she's going to call in the middle of the night or the middle of the morning. Actually, 2:13 in the morning. So she's saying, if you won't take my calls at the office, I have no choice. He says, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Can't this wait till tomorrow? And he's trying to say things in a way his wife doesn't figure out. And she's saying she wants to meet him in front of the Robinson Hart building tomorrow at 6. And she says, don't disappoint me. So now he's telling her this has got to stop. She said, you should have agreed to see me. He says, it's over. There's nothing between us. She's pushing now. And he's telling her she needs help. She needs a shrink. She's saying, I'm not your enemy. And then she says she loves him. Then she drops a bomb. She says, I'm pregnant. And she tells him, he says the typical man thing, how do you know it's mine? And she says, because I don't sleep around. And then he, says, you won't have to handle this alone. She says, handle what? And he says, the abortion, I'll take care of it. That's another thing that these types of guys do. They think, oh, I'll throw a few bones their way and they can take care of the abortion. She says, no, I'm going to have the baby. So Dane is listening as his wife reads his daughter a book. But you can see here that Dan is no longer so carefree. I mean, the guilt is getting worse and worse at this point. So he waits until Alex leaves her apartment. Now he's going to break into her apartment. Super Batman Nerd, you say you just seen a movie called Dick Shark? So he's going through, he's rifling through everything basically. So he finds a scrapbook, and there is Alex's father. And he finds his obituary from 1959. So now he's confiding in his friend about what he's done. So yeah, he was trying to find out if she was sleeping with anybody else. He's looking for a way out essentially, but he says he didn't find anything. And he says, I don't know anything about family law. So his friend does, and he says, you got to help me here. His friend says, it ain't good. And then at this point, he says, I'm scared, Jimmy. I don't want to lose my family. Well, it's like, sorry, bucko. You should have thought about that before you screwed around. So she's calling his number. Well, he's had his number changed. So she calls the operator and she says, I'm calling this number. It says it's disconnected. The operator looks. She says it's been changed to unlisted. So I didn't remember that the operator saying my place or yours after she says, well, fuck you, to in answer to the operator saying we can't give out that information of the number that's become unlisted. Oh no. So it's about to get worse because now Alex has showed up at the apartment. And remember, they're getting ready to move out in the country, basically. So Alex is posing as somebody that wants to rent their apartment. And this is how devious she is. because she's posing as somebody that wants to take over the apartment for them or from them. Um, his wife inadvertently ends up giving this crazy woman their phone number. Russell, you say Dana finally watched Auntie Lee's Meat Pies and it was a laugh fest. I am yawning a lot. I don't know. It could be my blood sugar. I may have to get up and go get something real quick, especially if people are noticing that I'm yawning a lot. Which I think, to be on the safe side, guys and gals, I will do. I will do this and go and um, I've got some ice cream in there I can actually get. You're about to put your snowsuit on, Blissful, because I'm eating ice cream. It was something quick I thought I could get to get sugar in me. So I believe this is where Dan is about to get violent with Alex. The one about being ignored, TJ. Um, it I can't remember exactly if she said that in a few scenes before or right now. It might be here. So now she's really pushing the that he has responsibilities. Yeah, I'm not going to be ignored. So now she thinks, she can just come on to him. Now he says, "You're so sad," and she says, "Don't you ever pity me, you smug bastard." And this is going to get violent here. So, yeah, she says, "I'll tell your wife." And then he says, "You tell my wife, I'll kill you." She says, "It only takes a phone call." And I mean, she's right there. So now they're moving into their new house. So now Dan did want to get out of the apartment because he wants to get away from Allie's. So he doesn't want her to answer the phone because he's afraid it's Alex. And he's relieved that it's Martha. I think Martha is his secretary. So he's got his daughter a rabbit. Don't get too attached to this rabbit, guys and girls. So a package arrived for him. And he's also going to get a shock when he goes to retrieve his car from the parking garage. Oh, I like the honeymooners too, Russell. There's Alex. And we're about to see that something very bad has happened to Dan's car. And he knows who did it too, because he says fucking bitch. So he has to get a rental car. We see Alex is following him. So he's curious about what this little package is. And it's a tape. Anybody remember cassette tapes? And it says, "Play me, Alex." And this part where she's like, "I feel you, I taste you, I think you, I touch you," which is so creepy. And then she starts talking about responsibilities again. Oops. This is Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and it's a little. I need to let it soften up a little bit. And then she starts saying, "You're a cocksucking son of a bitch. I hate you. I bet you don't even like girls." And then she calls, some derogatory names. What flavor, Blissful? I had the half baked. It's chocolate and vanilla ice cream with chocolate chip cookie dough and fudge brownie. It's one of my favorite Ben and Jerry flavors. Microwave for 30 seconds, you say, TJ? Well, I'm already a little ways into it, but I'll remember that for next time. So, I mean, for those of you that have seen this movie already, this scene is so heartbreaking based on what is going to happen. That's what you say, same and Cherry Garcia. I don't think I've had the Cherry Garcia. I probably should try it. So, also by following him home, she's, figured out where he's living now. And he's actually going to finish listening to it. I haven't had the fish food either, TJ. Really, Super Batman Nerd? Dick Shark is 3 hours and 20 minutes? And then his wife comes up behind him and scares the shit out of him. And he tells her he was just listening to a deposition because he couldn't sleep. So he's going to a cop or a detective and, acting as if it's somebody else that this is happening to, a client of his. And the cop saying, the lieutenant, whatever he is saying, we can't arrest people on what they might do. And I think this detective or whatever knows that it's Dan that's got the problem. So the cop's basically saying, it's his bed, he's going to have to lie in it. Notice they're showing a whole heck of a lot of that rabbit, right? And I shudder to think, what if they had left the dog at home? And oh boy, we're coming up on the dreaded scene for me. Because as soon as Ellen gets home, what's she going to want to do? She's going to want to see her little bunny rabbit, right? And this is a very, very tense scene because Ellen is running to see her bunny, and Beth is going into the house, but it's soon going to become apparent that something is not right here. Coco, you say it pisses you off that they told him it's his problem and to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, in a way, it does me too because they should have taken, his wife's safety, his daughter's safety into account with this. Okay, and here, oh Lord, this is so bad. I don't know if I could if I came back home after being away and saw this pot boiling on my stove, I don't even know if I'd have the nerve to approach it. So you're still seeing Ellen running towards the rabbit hutch. Oh God, this is so bad. And not only has she boiled the poor rabbit, but she evidently slit its throat. And then you got this poor child crying. And now it's gonna get that much worse because the stuff with the affair is going to come out. And his wife's wanting to know, did you call the cops? He said, not yet, no. And then he says, honey, we gotta talk. And he tells her, I know who did this. And he says, remember the girl that came to the apartment? The one I met in the Japanese restaurant? And then she says, you're scaring me. And then she says, what is it? Did you have an affair with her? And he doesn't skip a beat. He says yes. And then tries to tell her he's sorry. The last thing I ever wanted to do was hurt you. And then she says, are you in love with her? He says, no, it was one night. It didn't mean anything. And then she said, what's it got to do with what's happened? And then he says she's pregnant. And Beth loses it here. And she's like, I want you out of this house. And the daughter is seeing this. She's already been traumatized by her bunny rabbit. Now, she's seen her parents, you know, her mother screaming and crying. And this little girl, she's an exceptional actress. I really don't know how that little girl got herself to that state, but she really looks like she is crying. And that's, my heart breaks for the wife in this story, but I really who really makes my heart break is that little girl. So he calls Alex. He said, "It's over. It's finished. I told Beth. She knows all about it." And she says, "You don't have the balls." And he says, "Well, why don't you speak to her?" And Beth is a tough lady here because she says, "This is Beth Gallagher. If you come near my family again, I'll kill you. You understand?" And then she just hangs up. Coco, you say they need to make a sequel about the daughter? That might be interesting. Oh, fruit roll ups. So she's wanting to know when her daddy's coming home. And he says, "I don't know." And again, she says, "Daddy, call me tomorrow." That's cool though, Blissful. You say you finally got the perfect pink mix for the nail set, though it will be mostly covered in blood splatter. So now she's come to pick up her daughter, and I guess things were more lax back in 1987 because I don't think this would ever happen now. But they allowed Ellen to go home with someone else. So now she's frantic. She doesn't know where her daughter is or if something bad has happened to her. So you say 1987 was the year your parents started getting ulcers? So now, if you were watching this for the first time, you may think, oh God, she's got Ellen. What is she going to do to her? So Beth is, she's frantic. She's running to the house, seeing if Ellen is there. This is interspersed with scenes of Alex and Ellen going to an amusement park. They're riding a roller coaster. This poor child looks terrified here. I've only been a mother to fur babies and various other animals, but when my dogs have gotten out the front door, for instance, and there was one time a few years ago I couldn't find Brink. She turned out she went over near the park, which actually isn't very far from the house, but I was going up and down the street hollering for Brink. Um, so, you know, this would be magnified 100 gazillion times if it was your child. Not that I don't love my animals, I love my animals. But evidently they didn't tell this child about stranger danger, though. And we saw that Beth has gotten in a car accident. Um, Dan is there, and the parents are none. Beth's parents are none too happy with him, obviously, because they know about the affair by now. His mother-in-law's not saying anything to him. His father-in-law, the father-in-law's got to want to kill him. Father-in-law won't talk to him. She's probably on some heavy drugs there. I mean, honestly, this is the most remorseful the man has looked through the entire film since the affair happened. So again, he's back to being outside Alex's apartment. And this time he's not going to be cordial at all. I mean, this is a man that, yeah, he's basically got nothing to lose at this point, except his freedom if he kills her. And she's spitting on him, kicking him in the crotch. And there's an obvious reason I feel like that she's got this white dress on. Oh, well, there's a handy dandy knife right there, right? And how she looks here when she smiles at him is so creepy. And so he was crazed when he came in there, but now he lays the knife down. This whole image of her is very creepy because you're not sure, is she just gonna, try to kill him again? And so now he's back and he says, "The woman took my kid. That's kidnapping. Am I right?" So he says, "We'll bring her in for questioning." Okay, so he is a lieutenant. So I could be wrong on this, but this part here or at least where Beth seems to accept Dan back into her life. It kind of rings false to me. It's really the only part of the movie that does ring false because she seems to let him back in too easily. I don't know if she's doing that more for the daughter and she hopes that things will mend between her and Dan with time. I mean, maybe that's what the case is, but if it's only her that's just accepting him now and allowing him back, that rings false to me. I think Super Batman did, Russell. So we see he's got a gun and he's talking to the lieutenant again. So he brings her a towel and he asks her about her arm. She says it hurts. And he says he'll get her some more painkillers. Oh, I don't know, Blissful, how his face mask turned out. And he says he'll fix her, a cup of tea. That's what I do. I always get my water too hot if I run a bath, and I don't take baths very often. It's usually showers. I had to put that in there because y'all might think, "Oh God, you never clean up." Uh, so we're coming up on the final scenes of this movie, and oh my God, this is going to be so frightening. Right there. And she wants to know what Beth is doing there. This is, she's lost her mind. And she wants to know, why are you here? And she says he tried to say goodbye to me last night, but he couldn't because he and I feel the same way about each other, completely delusional. And all the time she's saying this, she's cutting herself in the leg with this knife. So we're seeing that the bathtub is running over. And the dog's licking the water. Dan's looking. He's like, what's going on here? I would be more than a little concerned if I saw water dripping like that. So she's getting really violent now. Beth is screaming for Dan, and he finally hears her screaming. This is a very violent ending to, or a few scenes. And this is where, when I was doing the review of Blind Terror, one that Darren wanted me to watch and review, um, this is where I saw the opposite of what's happening here happen in that movie, because the killer was actually trying to drown Mia Farrow in the bathtub. I love it too, Russell. I don't know how that one slipped under my radar. That and Wolf Creek. So those of you that have seen enough horror movies, you know that it's not done and over with now. Sorry if y'all saw me jump. My phone's going off all over the place, and I've been jumpy lately. I don't know if it's too much caffeine or what. There we go. I believe, though, that the original ending to this was that Alex kills herself, but makes sure that Dan's prints are all over the weapon, and he gets blamed for it. Which I'm kind of, even though I don't like the Dan character, I'm kind of glad that they didn't go with that ending and instead went with this ending. Yeah, Russell, it seems like I've seen Wait Until Dark, but it's been an extra long time. I need to rewatch it. So the final shot is the picture of the happy family, right? So we will, or I will, as I always do, let the credits run out on this, but I hope for those of you watching this that you enjoyed it. I don't know if there were any like first time viewers of the film. If there were, I hope I didn't give anything away and ruin it for you. For those of you that this has been your second or more time watching it, I hope you enjoyed watching it again. Um, Now, next week, um, the watch alongs will be Saturday will be House by the Cemetery, And Sundays will be Flashback starring Dennis Hopper and Kiefer Sutherland. So that one will be a comedy film. But House by the Cemetery is a Lucio Fulci horror film. So we've got one horror film, we got one comedy film. I don't know as far as, other than Wednesday and Thursday, what I've got lined up for the week. Just a little heads up, I have made a decision to only do one movie munchies a weekend. Instead of doing them on Saturday and Sunday, I've opted to just do one on Sunday. I love doing them, but it's become abundantly clear that it's almost too much for me to do two of them and plus do two watch-alongs on weekends. So there may be times if these are going to be short movie munchies that they're not very labor intensive that I might do two. Because I was unable to do the Creepshow Father's Day cupcakes today because all my supplies didn't come in. I will be doing that this coming Sunday. So you love both of those, Russell? So no longer will I be doing two movie munchies a weekend. I apologize, guys and gals, unless they're two short ones and I do them only on Sundays. I got a big day at work supposedly coming up tomorrow because it is Columbus Day. They said that's the second biggest day for smile doctors. So I guess because the kids are out of school, they think a lot of parents are going to be out of work and they're going to be bringing their kids in to get started on braces. So I'm probably not going to be on here very much longer. But if you guys have any questions or suggestions for future watch-alongs or anything like that, I probably could stay on here, 2 or 3 more minutes. But I am going to eventually have to go to the restroom again because I've been sipping on this energy drink, and it's making me have, the more liquid you put in you, the more you're going to have to go to the restroom. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, great live, Dana. Coco, you said Flashback sounds fun. I haven't seen it since the 90s. Cupcake sounds good. Okay. Yes, I agree with Blissful. Chat, you were awesome. Well, you got a fan, Blissful. Russell says, Bliss, so were you, love. Coco, let me see when I'm doing Rocky Horror. Actually, I'm doing Rocky Horror November 4th, so it'll be coming up really, really soon, Coco. Not soon as in this month, but the beginning of next month. We will also eventually, October 28th will be the original Halloween, and the 29th will be Halloween H2O. So we will be doing, or I will be doing the original Halloween and also Halloween 20 years later towards the end of the month. But I guess, guys and gals, I'm going to have to go on and get off of here because the restroom is calling me and I need to answer. So I want to thank you guys and gals for joining me tonight. We had a pretty good crowd most of the time. But as always, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everyone on the flip side. Y'all have a good night, and I'll see you next time.